So what I've learned in this experiment is I hate reading. I hate books. I hate every book I own. Everything sucks. Hello my friends, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if you are new. My name is Erin, and today we are doing another TBR Slasher video. This is episode 5, I believe. If you haven't seen any of my videos like this previously, I'll have like my playlist linked down below, but this is my version of trying to read my entire TBR. I spin this wheel, which has different categories written on it, and whatever one we land on, I read a book that fits the category. The goal is to have a final girl. So if I like the book and it's good, I want to keep it, it's going to get a permanent place on my shelves, it's a final girl, it survives the slashing. But if it doesn't survive, it, you know, dies, aka gets unhauled. I have made some changes to the wheel because I felt like some of the categories, I didn't have enough books that met the criteria, and I wanted to include more books because I felt like not all of my TBR was gonna get included in this video if I didn't make some changes. So we have some different categories this time, and I'm going to do something different in this video. So when we spin the wheel, whatever category we land on, I will be picking 2 books, and it's gonna be a head-to-head challenge. So if we land on horror, I'm going to find the horror book that has been on my TBR the longest, and I'm going to read that against the horror book that has just been put on my TBR. So the newest addition to my TBR, and I'm going to read them both, give you my thoughts, and we're gonna see which one comes out on top. So it's gonna be a little bit different. We're gonna probably read way more books in this one, so I'm hoping this doesn't take me 10 times longer to film than usual, but I think it'll be fun. Plus, I really need to get some books off my TBR shelf that have been here for like a long time, so I thought this was, you know, a fun way to include older books, and, you know, I don't know. Hopefully it'll be fun. So that's a summary of what we're going to be doing in this video. If you are excited, give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and let's spin the wheel for the first round because we're going to pick 2 books here. This is the nerve-wracking part. I have to spin the wheel to see what category I land on. And I'm very nervous. So let's see what the wheel will say today. Arcs! Oh, okay. So this means I have to find the arc that I have had the longest, which is going to be interesting because I have cleaned out my arcs earlier this year, and then that means it's going to have to go against the arc that I just recently got. So let me take a peek at my arcs, which one I have had on my TBR the longest and have been putting off. So let me find that, because I know which one is the new. I know which is the newest one. I just got it. So yeah, let me take a peek real quick. Okay, so I have the arcs. So I believe the oldest one I have in my arc pile is Let Him In by William Friend. This was on sale 10/3 of 2023. So almost 2 years. I'm a little late. This does look really short though, so I feel like this is kind of good to have be one of the first books, so it'll be really fast, easy, quick. This is a horror book. I don't know much about it. I think a kid has an imaginary friend or something like that. I don't know. It's been on my TBR too long. I don't even remember. The newest addition to my arc pile is Spoiled Milk by Avery Curran. This is not releasing until March 10th of 2026. This cover is really, really cool though. Look at how cool this cover is. So these are the 2 that will be going head to head. This is going to be so weird. A 2026 release versus a 2023 release. That's like a 3-year difference in release dates. That's weird. Almost 3 years because this is March. So yeah, this is going to be a weird first go. So I don't know what's going to happen. This is a weird experience, but hopefully I like it. So yeah, I will start reading these two, and I will let you guys know how I'm feeling about both of these books. Alright, so I finished both books. They actually read very quickly, which is interesting because they're two very different sizes. I thought this one was going to take me a lot longer than it did. I'm still not sure how I'm doing this video. I'm kind of going with the process, so I guess I'm going to talk about both books at the same time. Well, not at the same time. That would be very confusing. But I guess like back to back kind of thing. I don't know. This is my first time doing this, okay? Give me a break. So we'll start with Let Him In, since this was the older arc. I didn't like this. I'm giving it 2 stars. In this book, we're following Alfie. He is the dad to 2 girls. They're twins, and they just recently lost their mom, so his wife has just died. And the way they're coping with it is they have this like imaginary friend who they call Black Mamba. There's a second POV, which is Julia, I think, and that's the sister, who's also a twin, to his dead wife. It's such a stereotypical, like, these kids are grieving and now there's a supernatural entity and they have this imaginary friend and it's creepy, but this wasn't very creepy and it felt like it took forever for anything to happen. This book is very, very short. Okay, not very, very short, but it's pretty short, okay? It's only 220 some pages. So for it to take so long for anything to actually happen, it's not really a great sign. It spent a lot of time focusing on the grief. I'm personally just realizing that I don't really love grief horror. I think it has to be done a certain way for me to really love it, and I'm just kind of bored of grief horror. I feel like it's all the same and it's just, I don't know. It doesn't do anything for me. So both characters, Alfie and Julia, are very unlikable people, which sounds horrible because they're both grieving over the same person, but like I hated them both. Like I didn't care about them. I thought they were both really stupid. I didn't like the choices they made. Their relationship I didn't care for. Like everything about them, I just like, it was so dumb to me. I also felt like having the imaginary friend be called Black Mamba was silly. Like, I'm sorry, but I know this entity is supposed to be like scary, but like how am I supposed to be afraid of them when they're calling it like Black Mamba? That just sounds so funny. I don't know if it's because my second car that I ever had was called Black Mamba. That's what I called my car. So yeah, it was just kind of funny to me. I feel like if you've read Incidents Around the House by Josh Malerman, which I really didn't like either, but if you liked that, I would say don't read this because they're very, very, very similar. There's a weird religious aspect to this one that I don't think was done very well. It wasn't really well thought out. So I would say if you liked and you enjoyed Incidents Around the House, don't read this one because that one's better. I feel like it was more fleshed out. And it actually did have some creepy moments in it, so I feel like that one did a better job of doing what it was trying to do, where this one didn't. I feel like this one failed. That sounds so mean, but I wasn't impressed. The ending wasn't surprising. I was just like, yeah, okay, cool, like, whatever. So yeah, I just kind of was bored while I was reading it. I wasn't impressed. It just felt like every, you know, child gets a creepy imaginary friend storyline done a million times. It felt like the same thing. So I can see why I've been putting it off, because I think I knew subconsciously that I was not going to enjoy it, which is true, I didn't. So yeah, not a fan, didn't like. On the other hand, we have Spoiled Milk, which is really different from the book we were just talking about, But I also didn't love this one. I'm giving it 3 stars. I can definitely see a lot of people loving this though. Remember, this isn't coming out till March of 2026. So if what I'm saying makes you really excited about this book, you know, save it. Don't forget about it. It's not out yet. But in this book, we're following a group of girls who are in a school for girls, obviously. But when does this take place? I've already forgotten. I just finished this book, 1928. So they're in a school for girls, and when they're, like, the very beginning of the book, one of their friends dies. And I think that it was a murderer. So the way they're trying to figure out who has done the murdering of their friend, they get into like spiritualism, so they start holding seances. It's kind of funny. I don't know. It's not really a funny book, but it makes me laugh when I'm trying to explain it. So this is very much a coming of age story. It's queer, and I didn't have the best time with it because I think it's very slow. It's very gothic. It reminds me a lot of My Darling Dreadful Thing. If you, like, by Joanna Van Veen, if you liked that book, you might really like this because they're very similar. There are some, like, really impactful, horrific scenes in this book where I was like, ooh, but then I felt like it didn't really lean into it enough for me. I wanted it to really push it. I think Gothic is so hard for me because I really want the horror to, like, smack me in the face, and Gothic just doesn't do that. So for me, this is so hard because while I really liked some scenes and some things that happened, I just wanted more from it, I think. There is some romance. It's kind of like, I don't want to say enemies to lovers, but the two girls have a they have a push and pull relationship. They're very snarky to each other. They're always giving quips back and forth to one another. They have this like sassy relationship where they don't really like each other, but as what they go through goes on, their relationship progresses and they get closer, and I thought that was pretty cute. I think the coming of age aspect I was a little bored by because I think this book, while I read it really quickly, it felt like it dragged on. I was kind of ready for it to be over. I think it just dragged in the beginning when they were first trying to uncover what happened with their friend. Because once the last 20 to 25% of the book happened, I was more invested because things started happening. That's where more of the horror really comes through. So I really wanted that, I think, sprinkled throughout. I think it needed to be dispersed better for me to have enjoyed it. I think I had a hard time with this being in first person. So we're reading from Emily's perspective, but it is in the first person, so it's I, me, and I think that was a little hard for me in this book. I felt very disconnected because I couldn't relate to these girls. So it felt weird reading from that perspective. I kind of wish it had been third person, which I'm usually not a big, I'm not usually picky about perspective in books. Like, it doesn't usually bother me if it's first or third, but for some reason this book, it really bugged me that it was first person, and I think it's because I just would have enjoyed it better if if I hadn't been trying to read as if I'm Emily. I think that really ruined my experience a little bit. There are some really good depictions in this book, some really good scenes where I was like, ooh, that's, ugh, like I'm gonna remember that. But I think for the whole book, there just wasn't enough of that throughout my reading experience. So for the first half, I was just like, this is very meandering and I want it to get there. So I think if you like books similar to My Darling Dreadful Thing, like I said, or Wilder Girls by Rory Power, that one has more body horror and it's a little different. But I feel like if you like those two books, if you like similar things, this book might be for you. If you like more more historical settings, like in My Darling Dreadful Thing, where it's taking place, you know, farther in the past, and If you like the seances, spiritualism, supernatural kind of stuff, you might really like this. But I'm probably giving this a 3. It wasn't exactly to my taste. It's time to spin the dreadful wheel. I say dreadful because it didn't give me good picks for the first one, but we'll go again and see what the next category we are looking for books in.
Oh my gosh, you have to be kidding me.
I just said I hope it's not fantasy. Yeah. Okay, this is terrible for me because I just got a book in the mail that's a fantasy book that I have to read now. Not that I don't want to read the book, it's just I was trying to mentally prepare for it a little bit because it's a book that I don't feel ready for, but crap. Okay, so I know what the newest book is, but I don't know what the oldest fantasy book on my TBR is, so I'm going to have to look because I'm not sure. I have no idea. So, I guess give me a minute and I'll come back and show you what the next books we're reading will be. Okay, it took way too long for me to figure out which one was the oldest fantasy book on my TBR, but I think I figured it out. Granted, I might be off because sometimes I forget when I bought books, so, you know, give me a little leniency here. But I think the oldest fantasy book on my TBR is Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman, which is the 3rd book in the Practical Magic series. So, yeah, I'm excited to read this, I think. I'm pretty sure this is about how the Owens family got cursed, so I believe this is Maria Owens' story. So I think I'll like this one. It'll be set in like the 1600s, witch trials, you know, so this is the oldest book. The newest fantasy book on my TBR, which I knew I was gonna get fantasy. It's not that I don't want to read this book, okay? I'm excited, but like, I didn't want to read it this soon. I just got it in the mail, okay? So my newest fantasy book on my TBR is Catabasis by R.F. Wong. I did get the UK edition because I like it better than the US edition with the checkered sprayed edges in black. I just think it looks better, okay? I like the cover better. So this is the newest book on my TBR. I just feel like I don't know if I'm ready for this level of fantasy. I don't know if my little brain can handle it yet, okay? I've read the Poppy War trilogy. I loved it. But I haven't read Babel yet, or Babel, however you say it. And I don't know if it's smarter to start with Catabasis or not. So, I mean, we're starting with it, so these are the 2 books that I'll be reading next. They kind of look good together, actually. But, so, yeah, I'll update you guys when I read these 2. So, wish me luck. Alrighty, I'm here with another update. I have finished the next 2 books that I was supposed to read. We'll start with the oldest fantasy book on my TBR. This is the 3rd book in the Practical Magic series. Well, it's the 3rd book in publication order, but this is technically a prequel. So in this book, we are learning the story of Maria Owens. We're starting to learn how the curse came about on the Owens family. If you're familiar with Practical Magic, then you know what I'm talking about. I can't go into a lot of detail about this because I don't want to spoil like the series as a whole. I will say we learn about Maria Owens, how she goes from being a baby to a woman. We learn about her life and what happens in between. The witch trials are very big in this book. I think this is the most witchy book that I've read so far in the series. I feel like this is what you expect when you think of a witchy book. So I think that's why Practical Magic and The Rules of Magic, I think is the 2nd book. I think that's why they felt so much lower on the like witchy scale. So this one really kind of explodes with the witchy aspects, which I loved. I love books that are set during the witch trials, which is crazy because they make me so angry to read. I get so mad and so irritated, and it's like a visceral reaction that I have when I read these books, but I can't get enough of them. I find the books just so heart-wrenching, and it's one of those things in history where when you learn about it, like the witch trials, when you really learn about it, you're like, there is no way this is real. And obviously it was real, but in your mind it's just so hard to believe that it's a real event. I don't know what it is, but when I read books about the witch trials, I'm just like, I can't believe that actually happened. That's insane. So I think I have like a deep fascination and like a draw towards books that has that historical element in it, and that's why I really enjoyed this book. This does have a few animal deaths in it, which they aren't gruesome or gory or overly descriptive. They're just really sad. They're just really like heartbreaking, and if you've read this book, you know what I'm talking about. It's just so devastating to read. I mean, I don't like animal death in any capacity. It hurts. But I think in this especially, it's just so evil that I'm just like, ugh. It just hurt when I read it. It made me want to cry. This book is really, it's a hard read because it just feels so sad, but I really like the ending of this book. It's very hopeful, which is interesting because if you know what the series is about, I really expected this book to be the saddest one, like the one that just had me sobbing. But I'm not going to say that this isn't sad. I was really devastated most of the book, but the ending is so much more uplifting than I thought it was going to be, and I really like that that's how it ends for this book being the second to last book. So I still have the fourth book. I don't even know what it's called. I can't remember. But I liked having that little slice of hope at the end to drive me to pick up the next and fourth and final book, so I can hopefully just really like it as well. I am giving this 5 stars because I just really enjoyed the series. Practical Magic has been my least favorite of the 3 books so far. I loved The Rules of Magic, and I love this one even more. This one's definitely my favorite so far. So I'm excited for the 4th book. I'm excited. I feel like the series just gets better and better each book, which is exciting. And I feel like that doesn't happen a lot. So I really love this. I'm sad that it is the oldest book on my TBR. I should have read it sooner. But yeah, 5 stars. Loved it. It was so good. I really love this series. Now, on to Catabasis. Look, I'm new to the fantasy genre, okay? I can't lie. I'm new to fantasy. I'm not as experienced as everyone else. This is really the year that I've dove into it and tried to experience the genre as a whole and tried, you know, cozy fantasy, romantasy, harder fantasy, whatever. You know what I mean. I'm just trying all of it. So I really wanted to read Babel first, okay? And I know that they have nothing to do with each other, but because I've only read the Poppy War trilogy and Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, I really wanted to read Babel first to get a idea of how R.F. Kuang did like dark academia and like academic style writing. I will be the first to say that I'm not the biggest dark academia fan. I want to love it when I read it, and I have really enjoyed some horror dark academia, but I did know that I was probably going to have trouble going into like dark academia fantasy. So, you know, I knew I was going to have issues with this, and I'm just, I wanted to love it because I love the Poppy War trilogy. I loved the Poppy War trilogy, okay? The Poppy War trilogy was incredible, so I really wanted to love this. I've seen a lot of mixed reviews on it, and I don't think I'm the best person to get your review from because, again, this is not like my area of expertise. I'm not like well-versed in fantasy as a whole anyways. So take my review with a grain of salt. I would go look up reviews who you trust from people who actually read fantasy, but if you want to know my thoughts, I will give them to you. So in this book, we're following Alice, and Alice is a grad student who is studying analytical magic, and her advisor is dead, and she really needs him to help her future, so she decides to go to hell to find him and save him so she can save herself. And she ends up going into hell with her, like, academic rival, Peter, and they have to traverse hell to find this advisor, okay? Now, I'm going to say that I think the magic system in this book is very confusing. I don't think it was explained very well, at least from someone who, again, isn't well-versed in fantasy. So I feel like I could have done with a bit more explanation on the magic system. It really just kind of throws you in the beginning. You're really not given a lot. You just like, there you are, here you are, let's go to hell, woohoo. And so I was like, I had a hard time understanding the magic system. It wasn't clicking with my brain. I think Alice is a really irritating character. I know a lot of people think Rin from the Poppy War trilogy is irritating. I love Rin. I love her so much. I didn't think she was irritating. Alice, on the other hand, couldn't stand. I felt like her motivations for why she was doing what she was doing was just insane. I couldn't understand her. I thought she was very irritating. She just bothered me a lot. I really hated listening to her, honestly. And being in her brain for this long, I was like, I don't care, Alice, girl. I think you need help. So, that was hard. I felt like the idea of them going to hell was really cool, but I didn't feel like it was that developed. Like, I really wanted it to be like, oh, they have to go through the layers of hell. And it was kind of explored, but I think the book could have done more. I really do. I just think that it wasn't done to its potential. I really, when you think about the circles of hell and really like all the trials and like what they had to go through, I felt like it could have been bigger and wilder, and I just felt like it was a little lackluster in my opinion. I did enjoy Peter as a character. Peter was probably the only character I actually liked. He was my favorite, and I do feel like the relationship between Alice and Peter was pretty decent. I do feel like in the end I figured out pretty much how the book was going to end. Once a certain point happened in the book, I was like, okay, so this is going to happen, then this is going to happen, then this is going to happen. So I don't think this book did anything in terms of like shocking me or surprising me or catching me off guard. It didn't do anything like that. Yes, it's a fantasy. I know it's not like horror or thriller, but I was just kind of like, okay, so we're going from A to B to C to D. Like it was just straightforward. So yeah, I didn't really love this. It was fine. I was seeing a lot of people on Instagram and TikTok talking about how you had to read all these books and know all this material before you went in, and I just thought people were being crazy. I was like, there's no way. No, I kind of understand it. If you don't really thoroughly know the texts and the books and the ideas that this whole story is referencing, I mean, you're just gonna be left sitting there like, okay, cool. Now, am I familiar with a lot of the stuff that this book is referencing? Yes. Do I know it like cover to cover? Is it ingrained in my brain? Do I know all the ideas? And no, of course not. So I was just sitting here like, okay, yeah, sure, whatever. So I did read like a textbook sometimes where I was just like, okay, can we just get to the story? Like, okay, so I just kept like flipping around like, yeah, sure, I know what you guys are talking about. Let's keep on going. So I really just had to read the book and pretend like I knew what they were talking about and pretend I wasn't not really getting everything. I don't really feel like it hindered my reading experience because I think even if I knew what they were talking about more thoroughly, I would have just been like, okay, yeah. I think if you love dark academia, if you're in the academic world, you'll probably eat this up. Those are not things that I'm really into. I'm not a dark academia fan like all the way. Like I do try to love it, but it never really works for me all the way. I'm not an academic person. I don't have like a job in there. I'm not a grad student, whatever. So I can't relate to this book in those aspects. If you can, I can see you loving this. I'm giving it a 3. It was fine. I didn't hate it. Didn't love it. It was just kind of disappointing for me because I love the Poppy War so much. Also, there is animal death in here, and it's intense. It's about a cat, and it's very gruesome and descriptive, and it was really unnecessary, honestly. I don't really know why it was in there, but yeah, so be warned about that. Okay, we are spinning the wheel again for our next 2 books. Let's see what category we spin. Oh my god, arcs again? Wow, it's telling me, hey, clean out your arcs. Okay. Arcs again, I understand. Thank you for letting me know. Okay, let me find my newest arc and my oldest arc, and we will read those. Okay, time for another wild grouping next to each other. For the oldest arc, I'm going to read Wildfire by Hannah Grace, which came out October 3rd of 2023. So yes, a couple years late. And then an arc I just recently got is Disco Murder City by Caleb Bethia. I don't know if I'm saying the author's name correctly. This came out September 1st of 2025. So I should probably switch these around. Romance. Horror. These are the next 2 I'm going to read, and I will update you all when I read them. You're probably all thinking, oh my gosh, Erin, you read those books so fast. You're like back in the same day checking in. No. No, I did not read them fast. This is the part of reading that I hate when I'm filming a video. And that's DNFing. Because I do feel like I've let you all down. I feel like I let the authors down. I feel like I let myself down by not actually reading the book. I'm trying to get better about DNFing, and there's something about it that I hate doing. It makes me so upset, but I made it like 20-ish pages into Wildfire, and it was so cringy in the first few pages that I was like, I don't want to read this. I don't want to. Didn't really like the main characters. What I saw of them, I just didn't feel anything. It was just cringy. So I was like, you know what? No, I can't do this. It's been on my TBR for what, 2 years now. Obviously, I haven't had a pull to read it since then, so I'm just gonna DNF it, and that's that. DNFing and putting it in a video is so much easier when it's a big name, and I know that my review doesn't really have much sway in it. So I do feel really bad about DNFing this book because it is an indie horror author, and it's Disco Murder City. I made it also about 20-ish pages. I just don't understand what's going on. This book feels kind of like a fever dream. It's a little hard to follow. I ended up reading the back because I had no idea what I was reading. And I finally understood what the point of the book was, because it really just didn't make sense while I was reading it. I couldn't follow what was going on. All I really understood was that there were demons and they were killing people at the disco. And it took me forever to realize that the main character is a cartoon. He works at a cartoon studio, and he's an in-betweener, and he steals masks from demons. Like, it took me so long to understand that, because I couldn't get it. I don't know. It definitely feels like one of those books where it's gonna be little plot, all vibe, which is totally cool if that's something you like. I tend to like having a plot. Vibes don't always work for me. Sometimes there are books where I'm just like, the vibes I love, it doesn't matter what's going on. But I think for this, because it did feel like it had more of like a complex situation going on, like this is very unique, very different. I haven't read anything like it. So I think because of that, I couldn't really grasp anything and hold on to it. So I was just like reading words at this point. I was just reading them and I was like, nothing's going into my brain. I could be reading the dictionary and I wouldn't know. And I hate saying anything about indie authors because I just feel guilty when I don't love an indie horror author, but I do feel like I would do better DNFing than giving a bad review. Like, I think I'm doing a better service to the author by DNFing and not really saying anything about it other than I just didn't really understand it. It was hard for me to read at first and I couldn't keep going. So I think that sounds better than me reading through it and giving it 2 stars in the end. So I just don't think this is for me. I think a lot of people will enjoy it because it sounds kind of wild and different, and you know, there are kills happening at a disco and that's fun. I just think for me and my taste, it doesn't really match. So yeah, I did DNF both of those, unfortunately. So we're gonna spin the wheel again and hope we don't land on arcs, because I've had not great luck with the arcs. You know, I'm not having great luck. So something else. Anything. No. No. You're kidding. You're kidding. It's not. I'm respinning. There's no way I'm doing an arc again. You're actually kidding me. 2 times? No. I will spin the other way. I'm not doing this. Choice. It only took me 4 spins to get it. Aaron's Choice. Well, what do I want to read? The newest and oldest of what on my TBR? We're gonna go horror. So the oldest horror book, I think at least one of them. I might have some that are older, but I honestly can't tell. Some of these books I probably got around the same time, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think one of the oldest horror books on my TBR is The Unseen by Brian Smith. This is a short novella, I think about like a VHS tape or something. I don't know, but it looks pretty cool. I like the cover, so it should be like short and punchy. And then as one of the newest horror books I've gotten is Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. I'm pretty sure this is the newest one I have. I don't know. This cover is cool. I also got the Aardvark special edition one, so it's a very pretty. I did have a good time with Bury Your Gaze. I did have a fun time with Bury Your Gaze, but I didn't like the sci-fi direction, so I don't know what to expect with this one. But it also seems pretty short, so I'm hoping that both of these will just be like a fun little punchy reads, maybe? I don't know. So these are the next 2, maybe last 2. I don't know how many books I'm gonna do, but these are the next 2. So what I've learned in this experiment is I hate reading. I hate books. I hate every book I own. Everything sucks. I'm back with an update, and I'm very sad to say that these next 2 books / last 2 books, the last 2 books I've read for this vlog, we're ending on not a great note, okay? Not a great note. So let's talk about The Unseen. This is a horror novella about the main character, Allison. She is at this horror convention and she is this huge Friday the 13th fan. She meets this guy who is like flirting with her and he tells her he has this really cool Friday the 13th thing to show her. And it's this VHS and she steals it from him. And this whole kind of big thing ensues after that. Honestly, I hated the main character. I feel like she is the stereotypical woman that a man writes. She was just kind of like weird and I don't know, I didn't like it. I thought the story was pretty boring. It felt very predictable and it didn't really hold my attention very well, and I'm glad that it was short because I just wanted it to be done. It wasn't super gory. The kills were like whatever. I feel like the plot was not fleshed out enough for me because it is a novella that I just feel like a lot of questions I have could have been answered, but it's trying to be one of those novellas that doesn't dive into like the whole story. It leaves you like wanting more or whatever. I don't know. I just wasn't that invested in anything. I didn't care about any of the characters. I thought the ending was predictable and I just didn't really care for the writing style, so I'm giving this 2 stars. For the new horror book that I picked, I went with Lucky Day by Chuck Tingle. This is the newest horror book I had in my TBR collection. I want to love Chuck Tingle so bad. This book was so not my vibe. If you like really bizarre horror that feels kind of chaotic and kind of absurd, I feel like you'll like this book. But none of it made sense to me. I didn't care about any of the characters. The main character drove me insane the whole time. I just couldn't stand her. Every time she said something, I was just like, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up, shut up. I just don't care. I didn't tell you what this is about. Okay, this is about this thing that happened 4 years ago. It was called a low probability event. And 8 million people were killed. Basically, a bunch of just really improbable, random, crazy things happened and a bunch of people died, okay? She gets hit up by this FBI agent and he's working on something and he's like, hey, you could really help because she's really good with statistics and like probability and whatever. And she ends up helping him with this casino. I was not interested in the plot. It lost me pretty much the minute it started because everything just got so wild and too wild. I like my horror to be rooted in realism a lot of the times because that's what scares me. That is what I find the most horrifying, and that's just a personal preference, but I do like my horror to be rooted in realism. So for me, when I read books that go so wild and off the deep end like this, it loses me. I can't really process it. I'm just like, this is stupid, this is bizarre, but not in a good way. I like my books to be weird, but again, it needs to be realistically weird. This is weird, bonkers, bananas, chaos, and I was not into it. Not into it at all. I realized about 20 pages in that I hated it. I did keep reading it because I've already DNF'd 2 books in this vlog and I just couldn't handle DNFing more. So I did continue reading it, but I did not like this. There was also some like weird science-y stuff in here, which Chuck Tingle did with Bury Your Gaze that I also didn't like. I didn't like how it went into the science fiction realm. I'm not a fan of that. I don't really like horror mixed with science fiction. From what I've gathered, it's just not really my vibe. It just really lost me. This was not a book written for me. I'm not the target audience. I can see a lot of people loving this. I'm not one of them. So Chuck Tingle and me, I don't know if we get along. I really don't. What I did like about this book is the main character is bisexual and it does touch on bi erasure and people not understanding bisexuality and believing like it's just a phase and it's not real. Even people in the LGBTQIA plus community not really recognizing bisexuality. So I did like that, but everything else was just not for me. So I'm also giving this 2 stars. So sadly, we are ending the vlog on a very bad note, but we did have a final girl, okay? We did have a final girl. Alice Hoffman's Magic Lessons. This was the only 5-star. It was actually the only book above a 3-star. I don't think anything else got above a 3. So really, this is a clear winner. We have a clear winner in this video. I don't know what I was trying to do with this video. I don't know if I was trying to see if books that have been on my TBR longer match my taste better. I don't know if I was trying to see that my taste has changed, so newer books match my taste better. Whatever I was trying to accomplish, I didn't accomplish it, because all I established is that I don't know what I like and apparently I hate every book on my TBR. That's what this video really established here. I mean, I'm just kidding. I obviously don't hate every book, but I mean, there was not really a clear-cut winner in this vlog about new versus old. So maybe we'll have to do it again. We need to redo, try it again, and see if the wheel helps me out a bit, because really this was not helpful. It really wasn't. It was trying to ruin my life in this video. Let me know if you want to see a redo, if you want me to do this over again and try again, because I think it could be done better. I really could. But if you like my TBR Slasher videos, if you want to keep seeing them, give me a like, subscribe, that way I know that you are enjoying this series and you want to see me keep doing it. If you want to see me do more like fun challenges mixed in with the series like this, please let me know. And with that being said, I hope you are having a great day, night, morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!